Welcome to the introductory chapter of the Dastardly Doctrine, or as I like to call it, how to get good. But what does it mean to get good at airsoft?
Well, there's mechanics to airsoft that most players don't think about, and if you understand those mechanics, you can become a much better player by gaming them. Future chapters of this guide are going to look at hard cover, soft cover, teamwork, how to deal with cheaters, and maybe some other stuff that I haven't thought of yet. Each new chapter will build on previous topics, but this first chapter is going to cover some basic principles that will apply to literally every airsoft engagement you partake in. When I say basic, I mean so basic that you probably don't even think about them.
Every concept covered in this chapter will be explained under the pretense of a head-on engagement where two players have mutual line of sight and one player, the shooter, is shooting at the other, the target. This is also based on the assumption that neither player is using any type of cover. I know that sounds dumb, but it'll make sense once we discuss cover in future chapters. Alright, I'm gonna shoehorn this part in now because I forgot to make it fit naturally with the rest of this script. Using cover is good. I do it all the time like anyone else, but if you train to make cover your #1 method of not getting hit, you fall into a more passive playstyle where hard cover becomes your safety blanket. You spend too much time hiding behind things and not enough time seeking out the enemy or moving in on objectives. Newer players are particularly prone to this. This chapter is about explaining the concepts I use to be comfortable and competent out of cover in order to be a more well-rounded and aggressive player, and hopefully people who watch this can make use of it. It will be quite rare for you to be only the shooter or the target for very long in any given firefight. You'll typically switch between the two constantly, or be both at once. For that reason, we'll look at each concept from both the perspective of the target and the shooter. All of this can scale with more than two combatants, but we'll keep it simple and stick to a 1v1 example. The core idea here is to stop thinking of airsoft as a mock gunfight, but as a game of magazine-fed select-fire dodgeball. The first concept to take away from this mindset is bullet time. Bullet time is the amount of time between the moment a BB leaves the barrel of a gun and the moment said BB reaches a target. As the shooter, you always have too much bullet time and you should always make decisions that decrease it. As the target, you never have enough bullet time and are constantly running out.
We're losing!
Holy shit! Oh my god! Oh my god! Holy fuck. Oh, that scared me. Got him. Holy shit!
As bullet time decreases, the tempo of the fight increases. Tempo is a vague way of determining the speed at which you need to do something that you want to do before the enemy can do what they want to do. That sounded way less retarded when I wrote it. Anyway, faster tempo, less reaction time, and vice versa. Sounds dumb and vague, but it'll make more sense later on. This brings us to what I call the big three. The big three are firepower, distance, and movement. If you understand how these three things interact and how to apply them in-game, it can make you a much better player overall. We'll start with the most universal of the big three, firepower. It's a vague catch-all way of quantifying the shooter's ability to hit or suppress a target in any given scenario. There isn't exactly a numerical measurement to quantify firepower, and it arguably deserves a video of its own. For now, here's a list of things that determine your baseline firepower. The first two items on that list are by far more important because head-on engagements are often won by whoever shoots more. Remember that. There are also situational variables that impair your ability to hit or suppress a target, which leaves you with your effective firepower. Next up is distance. Specifically the distance between the shooter and the target. More distance means lower effective firepower, more bullet time, and slower tempo. This is bad for the shooter and good for the target. If you want to have an easier time hitting someone, get closer to them. If you want to make it harder for someone else to shoot you, put as much distance between them and yourself as possible. Lastly, let's look at movement, the speed and direction of movement specifically. If the target moves towards or away from the shooter, it only changes distance. If they move laterally, the shooter must adjust their aim and lead or trap the target. As the shooter's effective firepower increases, so does the speed of lateral movement necessary for the target to evade fire. As distance increases, the speed of lateral movement necessary for the target to evade fire decreases.
That's how you do it. Oh, double kill.
Coming down here.
Contact!
If the shooter moves forward, it reduces distance, which is beneficial to them. Moving backwards is the opposite and shouldn't be done unless you absolutely need to retreat. Moving left or right doesn't serve much purpose for the shooter aside from being harder to hit in the event they start taking fire. Whether you're the shooter or the target, it's good to make use of at least 2 of the big 3 at any given time, if not all 3 at once. Keep in mind that as the shooter, you'll lose accuracy due to movement, which reduces your effective firepower. You can mitigate the loss in firepower by metering your speed, avoiding uneven terrain, and moving in a specific way. This guy called Slade made a really good video on how to do this. It's real short, so I'm just going to play it here.
But all you want to really focus on is not disturbing your lower half and making a bounce from the ground all the way up. So it's just a slight level change. And I kind of get everything a little bit wider than normal, kind of like I'm in my stance, but then I'm picking my feet up low off the ground. I'm not lifting high, because if I lift high, I start to bounce, right? See this, if I'm the just walk mentality is not true. Just walking is not conducive to separating the lower half from my upper half and keeping the shooting platform stable. So what I try to do is just keep my legs or my feet low off the ground.
This guy is a fucking goldmine of knowledge and you should subscribe to him. There's also environmental factors that can prevent you from moving quickly, such as mud, uneven terrain, tall grass, deep snow, dense brush, etc.
Nope.
Some of these obstacles may hamper your stability to the point where shooting on the move becomes pointless, or moving quickly will be dangerous due to tripping hazard.
Watch your footing! You okay?
Hard cover such as trees, rocks, and man-made structures can also prevent you from moving in certain directions, but this will be further explained in the chapter on hard cover. There are 4 notions from this first chapter that you would do well to remember and apply next time you hit the field. Number 1. The big 3 are like resources that can be managed, and you should be constantly aware of how much firepower, distance, and movement you have at your disposal in comparison to your opponent. Number 2. If your opponent has an advantage in any of the big 3, you should compensate by creating your own advantage in the other 2. Number 3. If you gain an advantage in any of the big 3, you should press that advantage. Number 4. The faster the tempo of the fight, the less time you have to react to any changes in the big 3. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more chapters.
I would stay there! Yeah, no, this is a bad spot.